Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to our CCMA Community Chat series. Today, I think we have a topic that has been mentioned several times to me in the last couple of weeks, the topic of resilience, which I think all of us need and maybe don't fully understand. So we are blessed this morning to have Neil Kelders with us, who is an expert on this area, a life coach and well-being and physical fitness expert. So Neil is going to share his insights on resilience, and we want to make it as interactive as possible. So Neil has asked me straight up to ask you to have pen and paper ready. So I remembered. Thanks, Neil and Neve, for the prompt to remind you all. So if you could have a piece of pen and paper ready, just handy at your side to make this as interactive as possible. And I suppose for us today, it really is to continuing to support and help CCMA members and friends to work through the new working environment that looks like we're going to have for another few months to come, if not longer. And as usual with all of these webinars, we are recording them, so they are available to you for later in the day if you want to share with your colleagues and teammates or with friends. But we also want to make it as interactive as possible. So as always, if you could use the question panel to the right hand side, and I keep an eye on them, and I'll let Neil know when they are there. So good to see all the guys from MBCI this morning. Dennis, Sean and Matt, you're very welcome, and Stephen. So good to see you all, and Helen, welcome as well. So we'll get going. I'll hand over to Neil. Neil, as I said, thank you so much. This is a topic we all really need to learn a little bit more about. So really appreciate you giving us the time this morning. And I'll hand over to you. Thanks, Neil.
It's great. Thank you very much, Dorothy. Hello, everybody, and welcome. So today I just want to look at resilience, and I kind of bring, when I do talks, I bring in my personal story. So sorry about that in advance. And we're looking at it in the face of uncertainty, because I suppose we are in the midst of uncertain times, and we've all had to adapt in some way. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about myself. So sorry about the pictures. I like to put up pictures of myself. So I'm from Kerry originally, so that's the accent if you hear it. I used to have hair. I had a great childhood, like everybody else. Lived in Killarney in County Kerry, grew up with a lot of young people my own age, and had a happy childhood. So nothing different to yourself or anybody else. The middle picture is my kind of lost years, in a sense. It's from 15 to 36. It's me when I suffered from depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. Okay, so a lot of tough times, but actually when I look back and at those tough times have led me to where I am now in the third picture. It's I'm working my passion. My passion is helping people through mental health, well-being, looking at topics such as resilience, and getting my word out as far as I can and sharing my story. And again, that's why I'm so delighted to be here. And again, thanks to Dorothy and Neve for accepting me and setting me up. So we're just going to move along. What I'm going to get you to do first. So Dorothy asked you to have a pen and paper, and I hope you do have one. So I have a notepad, and what I'm going to get you to do, and this is something I do every morning. All right. So every morning I write negative thoughts. So if at the top of the sheet you write negative thoughts, I do this. I write for 3 pages. All these thoughts that are in my head are clouding my focus for the day. They don't have to really be negative, but just thoughts that are coming back constantly and they're upsetting your day. So what I want you to do, we're not going to do 3 pages. You can set a time instead. So you could set 5 minutes if you think 3 pages is too long. We're just going to set the time for 2 minutes. Okay, so just for 2 minutes, and I'm going to do the same thing. I've already done this morning, so hopefully I don't have too much going on. But you're going to do it for 2 minutes, write, and the goal is just keep writing. Don't think. Just let the thoughts come. When you write one thought, it triggers another thought. Okay, don't think. Don't read back what you've written. Don't edit. Don't worry about spelling, grammar, language. Anything you want goes down. We're not going to read it after. So we're going to go for 2 minutes. Is everybody ready? And go. So I'm going to talk a little bit while you're writing, if hopefully it doesn't interrupt you. So someone has asked me before, is writing your negative thoughts, shouldn't you be thinking positive thoughts all the time? But yeah, it's nice to have positive thoughts, but if we don't acknowledge the negative thoughts, we're not really in reality, our reality. So what you need to do is, what we're doing is just writing the thoughts down. We're tricking the mind to think we've addressed those thoughts. Okay, so we're just easing up, because we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. 85% of those are negative. 95% of those thoughts carry over to the next day. So imagine the traffic jam of thoughts you're going to have. We need to relieve that some way, and this is one tool I use. So we're just going to go for another 45 seconds. All right, I haven't done much writing. And it could be anything. It could be like, I have to buy milk tomorrow. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this webinar properly. People are going to judge me. Whatever your thought is, just keep writing. Okay, we're just going to go for another 30 seconds. And if you have any questions throughout this 30 minutes, please do send them in, and you can interrupt me as much as you want, because I want to give you the answers to your questions. It's about you guys, okay? So another 20 seconds. So I'm just going to write, I'm going to stop talking. Okay, so what you're going to do is just tear out the sheet of paper, fold it over, don't look at it, don't read it, and just tear it up and throw it away. Gone. Out of sight, out of mind. So we think our mind thinks we've addressed it, and we're getting rid of it. It's a tool I use every morning, and some mornings I don't think I have anything to write down, and it's amazing. I just keep writing, writing, writing. I like to burn it, but you can tear it sometimes as well. All right, is everybody okay with that? If you have any questions on that, you can get back to me. So again, just a little bit more about me. Again, as you can see, I grew up in a lovely estate, 10 houses. Everybody was the same age. There's me in the middle, of course, with the tie hanging out, destroying my school uniform. So behind, if you see the trees behind those houses, there was a farm around. We were in the town of Clarny, but we had a farm all around us, fields. So we used to play in the long grass, chasing, you know, make war or make forts with the bales of hay, have little war games. We had curbs, we'd play curbs, we'd do everything, you know, bring the wool across the road with the fences, and we'd play tennis. You know, so if you close your eyes, you'll think of some lovely memories when you were a kid. You know, and I can think of some now, and they bring, how do they make you feel? They bring a smile to your face, right? You know, and I can see us actually, you know, when Wimbledon was on, putting the string of wool across from fence to fence and hitting the ball, and then we would, if a car was coming, we'd have to take the wool back, put it back again, and the play would be disrupted a lot. I can see us ring the doorbells of neighbours and running away, 10 houses, they knew it was us. But I can also see me standing in the driveway of my house, and my father's leaving. He's moving to Saudi Arabia, and I'm 7 years of age, and he's moving without us. And I can see myself at 15 years of age at my study desk. Wasn't a great studier. My desk is written with, on the desk is all the Liverpool football players' names carved into my desk. And I have a big science book from my junior cert, and I'm 15. And I can see myself writing suicide in it. I can see in 97 wearing a Man United jersey for the first time ever and last time in my life at my friend's funeral. The year after, I can see myself after a soccer game in the shower, friends coming in to me to tell me one of my closest friends had died. I can see myself getting the news that another friend of mine had drowned in the lakes of Clarny. I can see myself on New Year's Eve 2007, 2008 sitting with my buddy who's just been diagnosed with a brain tumor in Tralee General Hospital, and 2 weeks later he's died. I can see a friend of mine, Palma, coming up to me and telling me that she's gone back to Hungary just for a holiday for 2 weeks. She has a sore throat and she just wants to get checked out. She never returned, she died. I can see myself 3 days before the coronavirus is announced and the lockdown is set in, having a meeting with a company. My business is starting to take off. I have a good contract coming in. I'm looking up, hope everything's looking good for me. And it doesn't come to fruition, obviously, because of the coronavirus. Another knock. But even though I see all of those, and they were the worst times in my life, they have not destroyed me. And how do I know that? Because I'm here, I'm talking to you. And when I think about it, that means I must have been resilient in some way. In some way, I must have been resilient, even though it didn't feel like it. We all experienced some adversity. So the next slide I'm going to look at is going to give a list of experiences that we may have gone through. And Niamh is going to just release a poll then, and you'll answer yes or no. So, have you ever experienced any of the following or something similar? So, any one of those, if you've experienced any one of those, you just say yes, and we'll get an idea of how many people have experienced that. Had your heart broken, lost someone close, ever struggled through a divorce or breakup, been the victim of infidelity, lived through a natural disaster or a pandemic, been bullied, been made redundant? Have you ever had a miscarriage, an abortion, struggled through infertility? Have you or anyone you love had to cope with mental illness? Have you or anyone you love had to cope with dementia? Have you or anyone you loved had to cope with some form of physical impairment? Have you or anyone you love had to cope with suicide? And this isn't an exhaustive list. There's loads of experiences out there, adversities, but this is just some. So if you can answer that question in the poll that Niamh is setting out, and Niamh will release the results then for us, which would be great.
That's okay. So just give it a minute.
Perfect.
And just to say, we don't see anyone who responds to polls or anything like that. So
very good.
So people know.
Okay, will I just move on, Niamh, and you can tell me?
Yeah, just to confirm people are able to see the poll. Moment. Just results coming in a little slowly.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not. People aren't being allowed to vote. Sorry, I'll just type it and you can move on. I'll try and fix that now. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thanks, Niamh. Okay, so when I do my talks, I really want to be very real with people. And we know in life there are challenges ahead all the time. We always will face challenges. We faced them in the past, and in the future won't be any different. Adversity, it doesn't discriminate. As you say about my depression, anxiety, it doesn't discriminate, doesn't care who you are. If you were alive, and hopefully I'm not boring you to death here in this presentation, you're going to have, or you already have had to deal with some tough times. So you've probably just answered the question, the poll previously, and you've already experienced some tough times in your life. And what you have to do, and this is one of the most important things for me, is you have to accept it. If you don't accept something, you don't address it. With my mental health problems, it took me a long time to accept it, so I couldn't really address it. And you accept it by changing what you can and letting go. Letting go is self-forgiveness, forgiving yourself of what you can't change. So this is just a, sorry, Niamh,
Sorry.
yeah.
The poll should work now if you want me to launch it again.
Yeah.
Great. It should work now. Just give it another 20 seconds and then I'll.
Cool. So you can just read the slide as well if you want, and I'll. Okay. So Buddhism posits that pain is inevitable, and if you don't experience pain in your life, you can't build resilience. For me, if you don't experience failure in your life, you can't really truly be successful. So with Buddhism, they believe there's two arrows, right? The first arrow is one that we cannot control. So say the coronavirus, it's here. We couldn't stop it, it's here. The second arrow is how you react to that, the pain and suffering. And with the second arrow, you have a choice. It's your reaction to the first arrow. So when the coronavirus hit, do we curl up into a ball and wait it out? Or do we, like most of you do, adapt, work from home, spend time with the family, do creative activities with them? Do we adapt to the situation? So most of you have been resilient. You are adapting to the situation. Okay, so your reaction, you may have taken you a little while to change your reaction to the situation, but you adapted. So what is being resilient? So if anybody's any ideas, you can throw it out there, no problem. A lot of people think resilience, if you Google what being resilient is, you find it says bounce back ability. So for me, it's not really that, because if you bounce back, you stay the same, right? It's more like a slinky. So the slinky is moving nice and calmly down the stairs, and it bounces into something and it changes direction, adapts, and moves on. So you are noticing your thoughts. So it's resilient people notice their thoughts. They don't deflect them. They don't block them. When you meditate, people say meditation doesn't work for me because all these thoughts, but that's the idea. You're supposed to let them in, recognize them, and let them go. You're unhooking from unconstructive ones. So what we did today with the negative thoughts, we were unhooking from the ones that are of no use to us, the thoughts that are of no use. So resilient people know how to do this. I do it through the negative thoughts writing, and I use meditation. These things I didn't embrace them very quickly. They took me a while to embrace, but consistency created the habit for me, because yeah, they're time consuming, but I knew my day wouldn't be the same if I didn't use them. All right, so you have to weigh it up. Do you want to have a productive day, or do you want to be going around in circles? So it's worth putting in the time. You're worth it. You're rebalancing quickly, like the slinky. It stops, focuses, and moves on. It's able to move in a different direction. And stopping is key. Stopping yourself where you are and then being able to move on. You're staying cool. So if you watch the slinky, it's the same pace all the time. Resilient people can stay cool and calm. So say you're driving your car. This used to be a pet hate of mine, and you leave someone out from the side street or parking, and they don't say thank you. I would nearly be driving up behind them, flashing lights. They would have control over me without them even knowing it. I couldn't remain cool and calm. What was I getting from that? Nothing. It would ruin the rest of my day nearly. So there's a lot of situations like that happen, things that happen to us like that. You're adapting. So as we said, the slinky is adapting. You have to adapt. In life, we have to adapt. As we get older, things affect us differently as well, and we have to adapt to change and misfortune. So we've all adapted very well during this pandemic. Keep learning. Every day you have to keep learning about yourself. People are going to make you react in different ways, and you have to know about that. I had to learn about being around negative people, or people that made me feel negative. I had to create a distance. I had to I was studying law. It wasn't for me. I wanted to do something else. So I kept learning about myself to see where I needed to go, what I wanted to do, instead of watching what everybody else is doing. You were stronger. So after the adversity or the challenge or the struggle, you're definitely stronger. You've learned something. And someone asked me, can you stop learning resilience? No, because different pain comes in different ways at different times. So it's always going to be different. You're going to learn something new about yourself, and you're going to become more resilient. You keep moving forward. Even if it's baby steps, you keep moving forward. And I'll show you in a while what I mean by baby steps. Excuse me. And it is a continuous process. It never stops. You never stop learning how to become more resilient. Okay, if you have a pen and paper, I'm going to ask you quickly to answer these questions, okay? Just going to give you, say, 2 minutes. They're not difficult. It's just to see how resilient you are, because it's important to know where you're at and find out where you need to go, what you need to do. So if you don't know where you're at, you really can't address the situation either. So for each question, if you score between 1 and 5 on the questions, then we'll add them up. So 1 is where it's you strongly disagree with the statement. 5, you strongly disagree is 1. 5 is you strongly agree. So between 1 and 5, pick your scores. So in a difficult spot, I focus at once to what can be done to put things right. So when I'm in a difficult spot, I focus at once to what can be done to put things right. Are you between 1 to 5? Number 2, I influence where I can, rather than worrying what I can't influence. Okay. Number 3, I don't take criticism personally. Number 4, I generally manage to keep things in perspective, something I was never able to do really. Now, thankfully, I can. I am calm in a crisis. And this is one thing I actually love about myself now, that I do remain calm. Nothing bothers me too much, obviously at certain times, but not like before, becoming frustrated, anxious, overwhelmed. I'm good at finding solutions to problems. Number 7, I would describe myself as an anxious person. Number 8, I don't tend to avoid conflict. Number 9, I try to control events rather than being the victim of circumstances. Number 10, I trust my intuition. Number 11, I manage my stress levels well. And number 12, I feel confident and secure in my position. So have you answered all those? Just tot up your score if you can. And the next slide will just show you the scoring range and where you lie. So this is something I would do regularly, now and again, maybe once every 2 weeks, to see, am I on track still? What have I learned? Okay, is everybody okay with that? And the next slide is the scores. So if you're between 0 and 37, you're developing level of resilience. Your score indicates that you would benefit significantly from developing aspects. So you need to look at where you're at and how you can develop your resilience. An established level of resilience, your score indicates that you may have tough days when you can't quite make things go your way, but you rarely feel ready to give up. 44 to 48, you have a strong level of resilience. You'll be able to roll with the punches and have turned setbacks into opportunities. And then 49 to 60, an exceptional level of resilience. Your score indicates that you're very resilient most of the time. Okay, so are you surprised by your score? I do think a lot of people are more resilient than they give themselves credit for. They're at some level. I always ask people, I do morning routines. I have a morning routine, and someone asked me, oh, what should my morning routine be? And first question is, why do you think you need a morning routine? And they came back and said, I don't know. So with this score, you can ask yourself, do I need to do things to become more resilient? So if you're between 49 and 60 and you surprise yourself, maybe you're okay. Maybe you know how to keep learning. How to build resilience. Okay, this is my idea around it. As you can see, the headings are self-talk, attention, self-care, continuous process. Let's look at self-talk first. 2 of the most important things I needed to accept my mental health problems. I had to stop asking why, as in why me? Everybody else has the perfect life, and why am I like this? Stop being the victim. Stop asking when. When is it going to end? Now I don't care. I have developed tools over a number of years that it doesn't matter. If I get a bout of depression or anxiety, I can manage my way through it. Okay, my productivity won't be as high, but I'm still moving forward. Start asking, why not me? Why am I so special that these things shouldn't happen to me? It's life. It's uncertain. Life is uncertain anyway. Not just pandemics. Every day is uncertain. You go out to the car, you go out to your car, get into your car, you can drive down the road. You don't know that someone won't come across to the other side. Life is uncertain, but you don't stop driving. It's time to sink or swim. I had to say that to myself. Do I want to be here? Do I want to go for this, or just give up? And thankfully, I'm swimming. Accept my reality. And I talked already about accept where you're at. Then you can stop and move on. And I have choices. People say they don't have choices, but not making a choice is a choice. All right. And the last one here is, no one else is responsible for your well-being. I'm sorry. And I had to realize that I have to take responsibility. It's the hardest thing I ever had to acknowledge. Attention. What can I change? So put your focus on things you can change, because you can't control everything. You can control your morning routine, how you get up, how you start your day. You can control how you end your day. The middle of the day, not so much, because you're interacting with other people. So focus on, I call it bookending your day, the morning and the evening. Accept things you can't change. Don't lose energy over things you can't change. Accept it. Focus on your reaction to that. The next one is change your reaction to things you can't control. And that, in a sense, is controlling them then a little bit, if you think about it. Distractions. We have distractions. You're working from home, you have distractions everywhere. Kids, alarms, time, everything going off. Use those distractions for a positive. So for example, I'll set my alarm at nighttime for 11 o'clock to make sure I turn off Netflix and I go to bed. Okay. In the morning, if the alarm goes off, I don't press snooze. I use it as my incentive to get out of bed and go. All right, time. If I'm working, I set 45 minutes working time slots, and I know that I only have to focus for 45 minutes. I give myself a 2-minute break and I go again. And then it continues and continues. And before long, I have a few hours done of work done. Kids, if you get up early in the morning, you know your kids get up a certain time, set yourself your focus to do as much work as you can within that time. And remember, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Self-care, take responsibility, access your power, I like to say. And it's hard to do, but you have to listen to your body. You become self-aware. Your body will tell you things. If your knee is sore, your body tells you that you'll feel a pain. If you feel something in your gut, it's not right. Listen to your body. Stop is the next one. Just stop. A lot of us try to address our issues when we're on the go, but we can't. We've got to stop, see where we're at, and then you can slowly move ahead. Okay, give yourself a timeout. If work is getting to you, just close the laptop, move away from it, come back to it. They are not you and you are not them. They, other people. We see everybody else. My friends have become directors of companies, they're doing this. That's great for them. It's not, I realize it's not what I want. I want to do my own thing. And once you realize that, it cuts these strings away and gives you an awful lot of power. Mind games with your mind. So we did the writing already. You got to trick your mind. You got to play mind games with your mind. Okay, to fool it into thinking that you're moving on. What works for you? Again, it's not about anybody else. You get all these generic guidelines on resilience, on depression, do this, do this. You have to adapt them to meet your need. Trial and error, and it is trial and error. It's through the years with my mental health, I've tried things, it hasn't worked, I've fallen back and I've had to try again and move on. You'll find the right thing for you. So just at the end of the sleep exercise, eating habits, meditation, fun, breaks, me time. I realized I was not having fun every day and I wasn't having me time. And I hear now families have an hour of me time every day, which is great. Each individual does their own thing. Continuous process, the last column. Do not stop. Keep going. You don't know what's around the corner for you. If I had stopped, if I didn't keep going with my mental health problems, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. So here, motivation, inspiration, action. People think you're motivated, then you become inspired and you take action. No, you have to take action. And say you go for a run or a walk and you get that great feeling after. That's your reaction to it. That's your inspiration you got to hold on to. And that gives you the motivation. And that motivation gives you more action. You become more inspired and greater motivation. So you have to take action to get motivation, not the other way around. Maintenance. With everything, when I work with clients and myself even, I'm perfect. Today's good. I don't need to do anything. That's when we stop doing everything that has brought us to that maintenance stage. Maintenance is vital for everyone. Okay, you've got to keep doing what you do to bring you to that stage to make sure that it continues for a lot longer. Be consistent. I was never consistent. I'd be good for a week or two, fall off, even with exercise. You have to be consistent. So if I don't want to go for a 20-minute run today, I'll do 5-minute walk. It's still active activity. It's still being consistent. Okay, move forward. I'm going to show you about this later. Pat yourself on the back. I was always very hard on myself. Very hard on myself. But when you do something good, reward yourself and pat yourself on the back. At the end of the week, have a glass of wine. Have a nice takeout. You know, go for a walk in the mountains. Do something that is your little reward. And know that you are worth it. I had to realize I'm worth a place in this world. And you are too. And never give up. Never, ever, ever give up. We've only one life, you never give up. Okay, this is just me moving from setback to comeback. And this is what I'm just going to show you. It's kind of important. At the bottom are my ages. Unfortunately, I'm giving you that information. So the first column is pre-2014. I had depression. I'd be in bed for 3 days at a time, longer. Insomnia, sleep for 45 minutes. Anxiety, triggered by a lack of sleep or depressive bout. Suicidal thoughts, not once a day, constantly. Thought there was no other way out. Disconnected from family and friends, masked, hid myself for over 21 years. And then I had a death of a friend in 2013. He took his life, James, and I was jealous. He was free and I wasn't. 2014 to 2016. First time in my life I opened up to my sister-in-law in April 2014. I don't know why. Still don't know why. Thankfully I did. And they brought me to Pieta House. But I still had my depression, my insomnia, my anxiety, my suicidal thoughts. I was still disconnected and I was partially still masked. So I talked. I felt good for a minute and then I stopped. 2016 to 2017, I had my aha moment, my epiphany. I need to access my power. Yes, I'm getting these supports on and off, but I need to do something. I need to move forward myself. So I started with baby steps. I did 3 things each day and I ticked them off my list. So it could have been emptying the dishwasher, hanging out clothes, call one person. And as you can see here, exercise, I put on my exercise gear day 1. Day 2, I put on my gear and my runners. Day 3, my gear and my runners went for a walk. Gear 4 went for a run. That's how slowly. I used to break up my days into 15-minute slots, but I still had my depression, my anxiety, my suicidal thoughts. 2017, I started taking real action, meditation, mindfulness, transcendental meditation. I started having fun, improv comedy, acting, became a mental health ambassador, following my passion, reconnecting with people, exercise, hit and miss, but I was stuck in a comfort zone still, even though I was taking action, because I wasn't pushing myself even further out of my boundaries. I stayed in this comfort zone, but it wasn't a comfort zone. It was going to ensure that I spiral back into my depression again. So 2018 to never ending, continuous. I'm taking action constantly. I'm learning about myself all the time. I have a purpose. And if you can see this is my vision board behind me, something I never thought I would have. And it's all linked. So I have my passions, say for example, China. I wanted to visit China at the end of this year because my niece, who's my goddaughter, is going to be going to China. So I was going to study Chinese, and it's all connected. Everything's connected. I have a why.
Neil, can I come in just for a sec? I'm just conscious of time. And one of the questions we have is, how do you help support a team member who maybe isn't as resilient as you would like, they would like? So from a team leader, team management point of view, can you give a couple of tips? And I'm conscious we probably only have about 3 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah, so I suppose you have to ask what, you have to know the person first. What is the issue they're having? Is it in work, or is it actually a personal issue? And then it's about talking. It's like people always ask me, if someone has a mental health problem, what do? You just ask. You have to ask the question and find out what the situation is, and then explore with them what steps they can take. And through that you can reflect, because there might have been a similar situation that you went through as a manager yourself, and you could talk them through a situation and you could show them the steps that you went through and ask them questions, and they explore that and see can you highlight to them what steps you went through, and see how they could maybe do the same with their situation. Because at the end of the day, you can support them, but the penny needs to drop with them. They need to click.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have a challenge for you, and I can put this up after. I'll just move to the next steps. So this is a challenge for you, something simple that you can add into your daily life if you want to become resilient. Something simple I do every morning is I make my bed. I focus on it. I consciously make my bed. That's my first win of the day. It's about setting yourself up for wins every day. I don't press snooze, because if I press snooze, I start thinking. So I just hop out of the bed. That's 2 wins. I do my thoughts, 3 pages. See if you can do that. For 3 days a week, write down 3 things you are grateful for and why. So we've heard of gratitude. For 3 days a week, meditate for at least 8 minutes. For 2 days a week, get up at 5 a.m. So if you get up earlier, and it's been proven, you can become more productive during the day. Okay, I know this is quite quick, and there's a lot more I can go through around resilience, but how do I know I've become more resilient? On the picture on my left is I have my friends in my estate were on our first date, going to our first date to first year in secondary school. And the guy in the end, James, he's holding a plastic bag. James took his life in 2013. And as I said, I was very jealous. The picture on the right, I'm there in the end on the right-hand side, and second from right is my cousin Noel. Noel worked in psychology, and Noel took his life last year. I wasn't jealous anymore. I got low, anxious, but I was able to bring myself out of that because of the tools I've developed. So I have become a lot more resilient. So what is your one, have you a question on resilience? What's the one struggle or challenge or question around resilience you have? Think about it, reflect on your own situations and see how you can overcome it. And if you change nothing, nothing changes. So I'd like to thank you very much. These are just little tips to remember. No one else is responsible for your life. Pain is an opportunity to build resilience, and things happen for a reason. And always remember, do something. And if you need to contact me in relation to anything, please do. Neil Kelders, I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks a million. Thanks, Neil. Thanks for that. And we've got a good few thanks coming in there from everybody. I think it's a really personal story, obviously, that you've shared with us, and we really do appreciate that, Neil. And I think there's some excellent tips there. And I must say, the one of thank 3 things that you're grateful for every day. I heard that a few months ago in an IMI course I was on, and I've started using it with a family of 3 teenagers, and it can be sometimes hard to get them to come out of anything with any sort of discourse. And it actually has really worked. I don't use it every day, but some days when everybody's in bad form, it's a good way of just getting them to think on the positive of life. So thank you so much for that. So just thanks everybody sending in thanks there on the chat box or the chat button. So thank you for that. A copy of your presentation will be on the website later today, and obviously a recording of the webinar. Really do appreciate you giving your time. I know you're happy to talk to other companies and to share your expertise, and that you provide more in-depth training as well. So please do take Neil's contact details there, anybody that wants them, or drop me an email and I can share them with you. So just in terms of my normal housekeeping, we have a webinar tomorrow afternoon with VHI Healthcare on nutrition in terms of well-being, and on Friday our Ask the Expert guest is Owen Thomas McDermott from the Communications Clinic, and he's going to talk about communication skills in this new way of working and remote working. So thanks to Niamh as always. Thank you, Neil, very much.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we get to meet you again in person in the coming months. So thank you so much. Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.